Madam, put your hands behind your back.
Amara Mari Johnson barely had time to breathe before two officers yanked her arms behind her, snapping cold cuffs onto her wrists. A crowd gathered fast, phones up, faces hungry. Across from her stood Khalil Hope, the billionaire CEO everyone in the city worshipped. His eyes were hard, his voice louder than the sirens. "That's her. She stole my phone." Mari's heart slammed against her ribs. She shook her head, panic rising. "I didn't steal anything. A man, he put it in my hands." But nobody listened. Mari's knees almost gave out. The officer shoved her toward the patrol car, and as the door opened, Mari locked eyes with Khalil, begging without words. Because Mari knew something the crowd didn't. This wasn't the first time she'd been blamed for a crime she didn't commit. And if she didn't survive this moment, she'd be back under the bridge by nightfall. Or worse. Hello, kings and queens. This is another Mr. Hope banger. Let's all grab your seats, get some drinks, sit back, and enjoy this beautiful story. The cold always arrived first. Before the sun rose, before cars filled the roads, before the city pretended not to see people like her, cold crept beneath the bridge and wrapped itself around Amara Mari Johnson, 23 years old, homeless and tired in a way sleep could never fix. The bridge above her rumbled with life that didn't belong to her. Engines, laughter, music from passing cars. Down here, Mari's world was cardboard, a thin blanket, and the constant fear that today might be worse than yesterday. Mari wasn't born to this life. She didn't choose it, but life had a way of choosing for her. Years ago, when she was still a little girl with small hands and big eyes, she'd been taken by a stranger and later handed over to a couple who called themselves her new family. At first, it looked like rescue, but Mari later learned the truth the hard way. They adopted her for the praise, for the good people image, and once they had their own biological children, Mari became the extra mouth, the unwanted reminder, the girl they could blame for everything. They sent her away like yesterday's trash. No goodbye, no money, no safety plan. Just a slammed door and silence. That silence followed her all the way under this bridge. This morning, Mari's stomach burned with hunger. She stood, brushed dirt from her jeans, and tightened her hoodie. She had one plan: find something to eat before her body gave up the argument. She took 2 steps forward, and the city's 2 worlds collided. Across the street, a black luxury car rolled up to the curb in front of a sleek building. The door opened and out stepped Khalil Hope, 29, tall, sharply dressed, and carrying the kind of calm that comes from having power. Khalil wasn't just rich. He was the billionaire CEO of Hope Couture, the biggest clothing company in the city, a brand known for elegance and influence. People whispered his name like it meant something holy. Khalil adjusted his cufflinks, glanced at his phone, and started walking. That's when Dre appeared. Dre was a homeless man, too. Older than Mari, face thin, eyes restless like he hadn't slept right in weeks. He moved fast, desperation driving him. In one quick motion, Dre snatched Khalil's phone and took off running. Khalil froze for half a second. Then anger lit his body. He sprinted after Dre, shoes slapping the pavement, voice cutting through the air. "Hey, stop!" Dre ran hard, cutting between cars and people. Then, just as Khalil gained on him, Dre turned a corner, saw Mari standing there, and panic took over. He shoved the phone into Mari's hands like it was burning him. "Take it," he hissed, already moving again. Mari's eyes widened. Her brain screamed danger. She didn't even have time to speak. She ran, not because she was guilty, but because she knew what always happened when rich people accused poor people. She knew what police believed. She knew how the world looked at a girl in worn clothes with no address. Behind her, Khalil saw her running with his phone, and everything in him snapped. "You!" he shouted. Stop right now! Mari ran faster. A police siren wailed. Officers cut her off near the sidewalk, grabbing her arms while she struggled to explain. I didn't. He just... Please! But her words were swallowed by the scene. A billionaire's anger, a poor girl's fear, a crowd hungry for a simple story. And the simplest story was the wrong one. As Mari was pushed toward the patrol car, she looked back and met Khalil's eyes, hoping, begging, without saying a word. Khalil stared at her like she was a problem that needed to be handled, and Mari realized, with a sick twist in her chest, that she might have just lost the first chance at peace she'd had in years, without even doing anything wrong. The following morning, the air inside the police station felt colder than the bridge. Amara Mari Johnson sat on a hard bench with her hands clasped so tightly her fingers ached. Her hoodie had been taken, her pockets emptied. Even the little piece of dignity she tried to carry like armor felt stripped away under the harsh fluorescent lights. Around her, people walked past like she was invisible, until they looked again and decided she was guilty just because she looked poor. Mari kept replaying the moment over and over, the phone pushed into her hands, the shout, the sirens. If she'd stopped, would anything have changed? Or would they still have dragged her in anyway? A door opened. Khalil Hope stepped into the station with the same authority he carried outside. He looked like a man used to being obeyed. Tailored suit, clean beard, expensive watch. But today there was something sharper behind his eyes. Not fear, not confusion, anger, humiliation. Behind him walked Danielle Carter, his fiancée, mid-20s, polished, beautiful, and dressed like she belonged beside a billionaire. Danielle's makeup was flawless, but her expression was tight. She held Khalil's arm like it was a statement. This man is mine. An officer greeted Khalil with extra respect, offering him a chair. Mari watched that, how the world bent for him without him asking. Khalil didn't sit. He pointed at Mari as if she was an object. That's her, he said. She ran with my phone. Mari's throat tightened. I didn't steal it, she said quickly. A man, he took it and gave it to me. I got scared. I ran because nobody listens to people like me. Danielle let out a small laugh that wasn't funny. So now you're a victim? She asked, voice sweet but edged. Khalil, don't let her manipulate you. Khalil's jaw flexed. I just want my property back and my name cleared. Mari's eyes burned. Your name? What about mine? I don't even have one anybody cares about. The officer held up the phone in an evidence bag. Sir, we can press charges for theft. Mari's chest rose and fell fast. Please, she whispered. I didn't do it. Danielle leaned closer to Khalil, lowering her voice, but not enough. Press the charges, she insisted. If you let her go, the staff, the media, everybody will say you're soft. You're the CEO. Your name is the brand. Mari stared at Khalil, searching for something human in him, something that said he could see she was terrified, not criminal. But Khalil's pride stood tall, blocking the view. Then the front doors opened again. A thin, frantic figure stumbled inside. It was Dre, the homeless man, eyes wide, hands shaking like he'd been fighting himself all night. He walked straight to the desk and blurted out, It was me. I did it. I took the phone. The room froze. Khalil turned sharply. What? Dre swallowed, fear and shame mixing on his face. I stole it. I panicked. I handed it to the girl because I thought... He glanced at Mari, his voice cracking. I thought I could disappear. I'm sorry. She didn't steal nothing. Mari's breath caught. Her eyes dropped to the floor as relief threatened to make her cry. Danielle's face tightened, but she didn't soften. Khalil stared at Dre, then back at Mari. The anger in him faltered, replaced by something heavier, realization. He turned to the officer. "Let her go." The officer hesitated. "Sir." "Now." The cuffs came off. Mari stood slowly, her wrists sore, her pride bruised. She expected an apology, but Khalil's words didn't come easily. "I made a mistake," he said, voice stiff. Mari's eyes lifted. "You didn't just make a mistake," she replied quietly. "You chose what was easiest to believe." She took one step, and the room tilted. Her knees buckled. Hunger and stress finally won. Mari swayed forward, and before she could hit the ground, Khalil caught her, his arms tense, his expression shocked. For the first time, he wasn't looking at a criminal. He was holding a human being. That same afternoon, Mari woke up to the soft hum of air conditioning and the unfamiliar scent of clean sheets. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming, because nobody like her ever woke up in a quiet room with warm light spilling through curtains. Under the bridge, the sun didn't spill. It stabbed. It mocked. It reminded you the world was moving without you. Mari sat up quickly, her heart racing. The room was small but neat, with a simple bed, a dresser, and a folded towel placed like someone expected her to stay long enough to use it. She looked down at her hands, still slightly red where the cuffs had been, and swallowed hard. A gentle knock came at the door. It opened slowly, and a woman stepped in with careful kindness in her eyes. This was Evelyn Hope, the woman who ran the Hope household alongside her husband. Evelyn was in her early 50s, elegant without trying, with a softness that felt rare in a world that had never been soft to Mari. Her voice came out warm, almost motherly. "Good," Evelyn said. "You're awake." Mari's shoulders tightened. "Where am I?" "You're safe," Evelyn replied. "You fainted at the station. My son brought you here so you wouldn't be sent back outside like that." Mari flinched at the word safe, like it was something that didn't belong to her. "I don't want trouble," she said quickly. "If this is about money, I don't have—" Evelyn lifted a hand. "No one is asking you for money." Mari stared, not sure what to do with that. Evelyn glanced at Mari's wrists, then back up. "What happened to you today shouldn't have happened," she said, voice firmer, "and I won't pretend it's okay." Mari blinked fast because suddenly her eyes felt hot. Evelyn continued, "My husband and I talked. We don't know your full story yet, but we know you've been through enough. So we're offering you something temporary, a job in our kitchen, a room, food, time to breathe." Mari's throat tightened. "Why?" Evelyn's expression shifted, like she didn't even have an explanation she could hold on to. "Because sometimes mercy is the only thing that keeps a person alive," she said simply. A few minutes later, Mari followed Evelyn down a quiet hallway. The home was large, too large. It wasn't just rich, it was a different universe. Everything smelled like polish and calm. Mari's shoes barely made sound against the floors, and that made her feel even more out of place. In the kitchen, staff moved quickly, but their eyes turned toward Mari with curiosity. Then he entered. Khalil Hope stepped in, wearing a black dress shirt, sleeves rolled up, his jaw still tense like the station never left him. Behind him stood a tall, broad-shouldered man with a stern face and a presence that filled the room without raising his voice. This was Malcolm Hope, Khalil's adoptive father, the founder of Hope Couture, and the kind of man who didn't need to shout to be feared. His eyes landed on Mari and stayed there like he was measuring her worth. "You're the girl from the station," Malcolm said bluntly. Mari lowered her head. "Yes, sir." Malcolm's gaze moved to Khalil. "We're not running a shelter." Khalil's voice came out controlled. "She didn't steal anything. She was hungry and scared." Malcolm's mouth tightened. "Hungry people still cause problems." Evelyn stepped forward. "And sometimes hungry people just need help." Silence settled. Mari stood there feeling smaller with every second. Then Khalil cleared his throat. "If she's going to stay," he said, looking at Mari, "then she earns it. No charity. A job." Mari nodded quickly. "I can work," she said. "I can cook, clean, anything." Evelyn's eyes softened. "Then cook," she said gently. "Cook something that reminds you you're still human." Mari hesitated, then moved toward the stove like she belonged there, because in her world, the only place she'd ever felt even a little control was around food. As she began to work, the kitchen filled with a familiar rhythm, knife on board, pot on flame, the scent of seasoning rising like a promise, and for the first time in years, Mari felt something dangerously hopeful. But upstairs, in a hallway lined with portraits and secrets, a woman watched from the shadows, quiet, calculating, and cold. Vanessa Hope, Malcolm's sister, had just seen Mari's face clearly, and something in her expression said one thing: "This girl doesn't belong here, but she might belong to us." The next morning, the Hope estate moved like nothing had happened. Staff walked briskly, doors opened and shut softly. Phones rang in distant rooms. It was the kind of home where problems were handled quietly, behind polished walls, so the outside world never saw the cracks. But for Amara, Mari Johnson, everything felt loud. Every glance, every whisper, every moment she wondered if someone would suddenly say, "Pack your things. Time's up." Mari tied her apron tight and stepped into the kitchen before dawn. She didn't want to be late. She didn't want anyone to think she was ungrateful. She didn't want to give them a reason. As she chopped onions, she noticed the staff watching her. Not rudely, more like they couldn't figure out what she was doing here. A homeless girl in a billionaire's kitchen felt like a mistake that hadn't been erased yet. But when Mari started cooking, the room changed. The scent of butter, garlic, and seasoned meat filled the air. She moved with confidence, like food was the only language she trusted. When the first tray went out, one of the housemaids came back shaking her head in disbelief. "Who made this?" the maid asked. Mari kept her eyes low. "I did." The maid smiled. "Baby, this tastes like somebody's auntie raised you right." Mari swallowed the lump in her throat and kept working. A little while later, Evelyn Hope entered the kitchen, dressed in a soft cardigan instead of her usual formal looks. She carried herself gently, but her eyes were sharp. Kind people often noticed more than anyone else. Evelyn tasted a spoonful of what Mari made, paused, then closed her eyes. "My goodness," she breathed. "You put love in this." Mari looked down. "It's just food." Evelyn shook her head. "No, it's not." Before Marie could respond, heels clicked against the floor, confident, measured, expensive. Danielle Carter walked in. Danielle was Khalil's fiancée, the woman everyone expected to become the next Mrs. Hope. She looked perfect even at breakfast time. Hair laid, makeup clean, posture straight, like she'd been trained to sit beside wealth. Her eyes swept over the kitchen and landed on Mari like she was a stain someone forgot to scrub. "So this is her," Danielle said, voice calm but sharp. Mari stiffened. "Good morning, ma'am." Danielle didn't answer. She looked at Evelyn instead. "Khalil didn't tell me you brought a stranger into your home." Evelyn's smile didn't move. "She isn't a stranger. She's a young woman who needed help." Danielle's eyes flicked back to Mari. "Help is one thing," she said, "but letting her live here is another." Mari felt heat crawl up her neck. She wanted to disappear into the tiles. A deep voice cut through the tension. "She's here because I made a mistake." Khalil stepped into the kitchen. "Couture." Mari turned. Khalil Hope looked less polished today. No jacket, sleeves rolled up again, hair slightly uncombed like he didn't sleep. He didn't look like the untouchable billionaire from yesterday. He looked like a man wrestling with himself. Danielle walked to him immediately. "Khalil, people will talk. Your image, our image." "I know," Khalil said. but his eyes drifted toward Mari. And I also know she didn't deserve what happened. Danielle's jaw tightened. So what, you're adopting the whole city now? Evelyn's expression hardened. Danielle forced a smile. I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. Before anyone could respond, laughter echoed from the hallway. A man strolled in like the house belonged to him. This was Trevor Banks, Khalil's best friend, handsome, loud and smooth, in the way men were when they didn't take consequences seriously. Trevor's grin widened when he saw Marie. Well, well, he said. Khalil, you been hiding blessings in the kitchen? Marie froze. Danielle's eyes narrowed. Trevor stepped closer, flashing a charming smile at Marie. What's your name? Marie kept her voice small. Amara, but people call me Marie. Trevor chuckled. Marie, that fits. Khalil's voice came out colder than Marie expected. Trevor. Trevor raised his hands innocently. Relax, bro. I'm just being friendly. But Marie saw it. Something flicker across Khalil's face. Not anger. Something tighter. Jealousy. And from the doorway, unseen by most, Vanessa Hope watched the entire scene unfold. Danielle's possessiveness, Trevor's flirting, Khalil's reaction. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Because Vanessa wasn't just watching a kitchen moment. She was watching the beginning of a threat. Later that night, long after the kitchen lights dimmed and the Hope estate settled into its expensive silence, Amara Marie Johnson lay awake staring at the ceiling of her small room. The bed was soft, but her body didn't know how to trust softness. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the police station again, hands grabbing her arms, people staring like she was a criminal, and Khalil Hope's face when he chose the easier story instead of the truth. Even now, safe behind locked doors, Marie's chest stayed tight like danger could still slip in through the cracks. A gentle knock came. Marie sat up fast. Yes? The door opened slowly, and Evelyn Hope stepped inside holding a folded blanket. Evelyn, Khalil's adoptive mother, and the woman who ran the home with quiet strength, looked tired, but her eyes were warm. I thought you might be cold, Evelyn said softly, laying the blanket at the foot of the bed. Marie swallowed. Thank you, ma'am. Evelyn hesitated, then took a seat on the edge of a chair, like she wasn't sure how close she was allowed to be. Did you sleep at all? Marie gave a small shake of her head. I'm trying. Evelyn studied Marie's face in a way that wasn't judgmental, more like she was searching for something she couldn't name. You're young, Evelyn said, voice low. Too young to carry this much pain. Marie looked down at her hands. Pain doesn't check age. Evelyn let out a quiet breath that sounded almost like prayer. How long have you been out there? Marie's jaw tightened. She didn't like talking about her past, because every detail made her feel smaller. But something about Evelyn's tone felt safe. Like Evelyn wasn't collecting information, she was collecting understanding. A long time, Marie admitted, since I was a teenager. Evelyn's eyes glistened. And you've had no one? Marie forced a shrug. People come and go, bridges don't. Evelyn's mouth trembled. For a second, Marie thought the woman might cry, but Evelyn caught herself. Well, she whispered, you're not under that bridge tonight. When Evelyn stood to leave, she paused at the door. Marie, you don't have to be afraid in this house. Marie nodded, even though fear lived in her bones. As soon as Evelyn left, Marie pressed her forehead into her palm and whispered a prayer she barely believed would still work. God, please don't let this be another door that closes on me. The next morning, breakfast felt like walking into a room full of invisible knives. Marie entered the kitchen early, ready to work, but she could feel the energy before she even spoke. Staff were quieter, eyes shifted away, whispers floated like smoke, and standing near the counter, perfectly dressed even at dawn, was Danielle Carter, Khalil's fiancée, polished and beautiful, but staring with a cold focus that made Marie's stomach turn. Danielle watched Marie move around the kitchen and finally spoke, her voice smooth like silk over glass. "You seem comfortable here." Marie kept her hands busy. "I'm just doing my job." Danielle smiled without warmth. "My job is protecting my future and Khalil's." Marie's fingers paused. "I'm not trying to take anything from you." Danielle leaned in slightly. "People like you don't have to try. Your presence alone creates chaos." Marie felt the familiar shame rise. She opened her mouth to respond, but heels clicked behind Danielle, slow and deliberate. Vanessa Hope stepped into the kitchen like she owned it. Vanessa, Malcolm Hope's sister, wore elegance the way some people wore armor. She didn't look at Marie right away. She looked at Danielle. "Danielle, sweetheart," Vanessa said gently, "you're doing yourself no favors by pretending this is normal." Danielle's eyes flicked to Vanessa, eager and desperate for validation. "Exactly." Vanessa finally turned to Marie, her gaze sharp and measuring. "A stranger living under our roof," she said calmly. "The tabloids would love that story." Marie's heart pounded. "I didn't ask to be here?" "No," Vanessa replied, voice sweet. "But you are here." Danielle's expression tightened. "What do you think I should do?" Vanessa lowered her voice, as if sharing sisterly wisdom. "You should stop this before it becomes permanent." Marie backed away slowly, feeling the room tilt in a way that had nothing to do with hunger. She could sense it, the shift, the moment when kindness began to expire. And when Marie left the kitchen, Vanessa watched her go, then turned back to Danielle with a calm that felt dangerous. "She's not just a problem," Vanessa murmured. "She's a threat." Danielle swallowed. "To what?" Vanessa's lips curled faintly. "To everything this family thinks belongs to them." A few minutes later, Vanessa stepped into a quiet hallway and pulled out her phone. She dialed a number she hadn't called in years. When the line picked up, Vanessa's voice was cool and controlled. "I need to access an old hospital record," she said. "The one from 23 years ago." She paused, listening. Then her eyes hardened. "Someone is getting too close," Vanessa whispered, "and I need that file buried again." 2 days after Vanessa's quiet phone call, the Hope estate looked peaceful on the outside, but inside tension clung to the walls like smoke. Marie kept her head down and worked like her life depended on it, because it did. She cooked, cleaned, and avoided eye contact with Danielle Carter, whose presence in the house had turned sharp and watchful. Danielle didn't have to raise her voice to make Marie feel unwelcome. A stare could do it. A pause, a smile that didn't reach the eyes, and Vanessa Hope, Malcolm's sister, moved through the house with her usual polished calm. But her attention stayed locked on Marie in a way that felt too focused to be normal, like she was measuring how much damage one girl could cause just by existing. That afternoon, Evelyn Hope insisted on coming downstairs. She looked a little pale, but she waved off the staff who tried to fuss over her. Evelyn was the kind of woman who believed faith and kindness were stronger than fear, and she carried herself like she meant it. "I'm fine," she said with a soft smile, stepping into the kitchen. "I just wanted to see what you were making." Marie forced herself to smile back. "Chicken and rice, ma'am, and cornbread." Evelyn's face brightened. "Cornbread?" she repeated, like the word touched something tender in her. "That was my mother's favorite." She leaned in to smell the pot, and for a moment the kitchen felt warm again, like kindness had returned to claim its space. Then Evelyn's smile flickered. Marie noticed it first, because people who've lived in danger learn to read bodies like alarms. Evelyn's hand reached for the counter, fingers gripping it too tightly. Her breath hitched. "Ma'am," Mari whispered, stepping closer. Evelyn blinked slowly, like the room was drifting away from her. I think I... Her knees buckled. "Mrs. Hope!" someone shouted. Mari lunged forward, catching Evelyn's arm as staff rushed in. The pot on the stove hissed, forgotten. Chairs scraped. Footsteps pounded toward the kitchen like thunder. Within seconds, Khalil Hope burst through the doorway, tall, dressed for work, his calm cracking as soon as he saw his mother. "Mom!" he yelled, dropping to his knees beside her. Evelyn's eyes fluttered. "Khalil," she breathed, barely audible. Mari backed away, trembling. She didn't want to be in the way. She didn't want anyone to look at her and decide she somehow caused this too. But it was too late for peace. Malcolm Hope arrived next, his stern face draining of color. For all his hardness, Evelyn was the center of his life, the one soft place he allowed himself. He crouched beside her, voice low and urgent. "Evelyn, stay with me." Danielle appeared right behind them, eyes wide, hand over her mouth. Vanessa followed, calm on the surface, but with a flash of something unreadable in her stare when she saw how serious it was. An ambulance arrived fast. The ride to the hospital blurred into a storm of sirens and fear. Mari wasn't sure if she was allowed to come, but Khalil's voice cut through the confusion. "Bring her," he told the staff firmly. "She was there. She helped." Danielle's head snapped toward him. "Khalil." "She helped," he repeated, and there was no room for argument. At the hospital, a doctor approached, a middle-aged man with tired eyes and a calm voice, the kind of professional who had delivered too much bad news in his life. "I'm Dr. Hayes," he said, introducing himself quickly. "Mrs. Hope's condition is serious. We're running tests now, but I need the family's medical history immediately, and depending on what we find, we may need compatibility testing." Malcolm stiffened at the words. Compatibility, testing. His mind flashed back to years ago. Another hospital, another doctor, another day they were told they'd lost a baby. "We already gave history," Malcolm said sharply. Dr. Hayes nodded. "Then we'll need it again. Sometimes records aren't complete." Vanessa's fingers tightened around her purse strap. Mari stood a few steps away, small and silent, watching their world shake. Danielle glanced at Mari with irritation, like Mari's presence during a family crisis offended her. "This is exactly what I mean," Danielle muttered under her breath. "Too close, too involved." Khalil heard it and didn't respond, because for the first time, his attention wasn't on appearances. It was on his mother's life. Malcolm looked down at the paperwork the nurse handed him. He read the old hospital name listed under Evelyn's history, and something in his expression changed. He stared at the date, the doctor's signature. Then he looked up slowly, voice rough with suspicion he couldn't yet explain. "This isn't right," Malcolm whispered. "Some of this is missing." That same night, the hospital lights stayed too bright, like they were trying to keep everyone awake long enough to feel every ounce of fear. Malcolm Hope stood at the nurse's station with a folder in his hands, his jaw tight as he flipped through pages that didn't add up. He wasn't a man who believed in missing details. In his world, every number had an explanation, and every signature had a name. "This record is incomplete," Malcolm said, tapping the paper. "Where is the full file from the pregnancy 23 years ago?" A nurse hesitated. "Sir, some older records were transferred, and some were archived. It may take time." Malcolm's eyes narrowed. "Time is what my wife doesn't have." A few feet away, Vanessa Hope stood perfectly composed in a tailored coat, but her fingers kept tightening around her purse strap. The calm on her face didn't match the tension in her eyes. She watched Malcolm like a person watching a door they hoped would never open. Across the waiting area, Amara Mari Johnson sat quietly with her hands folded in her lap. She felt like she didn't belong in a place like this, between billionaires and hospital machines, but she couldn't leave either. She'd seen Evelyn fall, she'd felt Evelyn's hand go weak, and even though Mari tried to stay invisible, her heart wouldn't let her disappear. Khalil Hope paced near the wall, suit jacket off now, sleeves rolled up, looking like a man stretched thin by responsibility. He kept glancing toward the ICU doors, then toward Marie, like he didn't know what to do with the guilt that followed him around. A doctor finally approached, Dr. Hayes, the same calm-faced physician from earlier. "Mrs. Hope is stable for the moment," he said. "She's waking up, but we need to be prepared. If her liver function continues to decline, a transplant may be necessary." The words hit like a weight. Malcolm's shoulders stiffened, Danielle's breath caught, and Vanessa's eyes flashed, just for a second, before she forced them calm again. Danielle turned sharply toward Khalil, voice low but tense. "Why is she still here?" She nodded at Mari like Mari was the problem in the room. "This is family, private." Khalil's head snapped toward her. "She was there when it happened." Danielle's lips pressed together. "And now she's here while your mother is fighting for her life. Do you not see how this looks?" Mari's face heated, shame crawling up her throat. She started to stand. "I can go," she whispered. "I don't want to be—" Before she could finish, the ICU doors opened. Evelyn's voice came out weak, but clear enough to change the room. "Where's Mari?" Everyone froze. Mari's eyes widened. "Me?" she breathed, like she couldn't believe someone like Evelyn would call her name. Khalil turned, stunned. Malcolm's face shifted, confusion and emotion mixing in his eyes. Danielle stared like she'd been slapped. Khalil guided Mari forward gently. "She's here, Mom," he said. Evelyn's tired eyes found Mari and softened immediately. "You're okay," Evelyn whispered, like she needed to confirm it. "You helped me." Mari swallowed hard. "Yes, ma'am, I'm here." Evelyn's fingers trembled as she reached out, barely touching Mari's hand. "You shouldn't be outside," Evelyn murmured. "Not again. When I'm better, we'll get you into school. We'll do it properly." Mari's chest tightened so hard it hurt. Hope was dangerous. Hope could break you. But Evelyn spoke it like a promise. From behind, a familiar laugh drifted in. Trevor Banks walked into the waiting area with 2 coffees in his hands, trying to lighten the mood the way he always did. "Man, Khalil," he said, forcing a grin. "You look like you've been fighting sleep and demons." His eyes flicked to Mari, and his smile returned, too smooth. "Mari, didn't expect to see you here." Khalil's expression tightened. "Not now, Trevor." Trevor raised his hands. All right, I'm just saying. You looking real protective lately." Danielle's eyes burned, and Vanessa saw it, the bond forming, the closeness growing, the danger rising. Later, when the hall quieted, Vanessa stepped beside Danielle like a friend. "You hear her?" Vanessa whispered. "Evelyn wants that girl in school, in this family's future." Danielle swallowed. "So what am I supposed to do?" Vanessa's voice stayed soft, almost gentle. "Stop this," she said, "before it becomes permanent." The following morning, the Hope estate felt different, like the walls had ears and the air carried secrets. Evelyn was still in the hospital, and without her warmth in the house, everything seemed colder. The staff moved quietly, careful not to trigger Malcolm Hope's temper. Malcolm didn't speak much at breakfast. He barely touched his coffee. His mind stayed fixed on missing hospital records and the frightening truth that his wife's life might depend on answers no one could find. Amara Mary Johnson returned to the kitchen early, trying to focus on what she could control: food, routine, silence. But she could feel eyes on her even when nobody spoke. She kept thinking about Evelyn's hand in hers, about the promise of school, and how dangerous it felt to believe it. Upstairs, behind a closed door, Danielle Carter sat on a velvet chair, staring at her reflection like she didn't recognize the woman looking back. Danielle wasn't a villain, she wasn't cruel by nature, but jealousy had a way of turning love into fear. She had worked too hard to become the one, the fiancée, the future wife, the woman who would stand beside Khalil Hope and inherit the world that came with him. And now a homeless girl was standing in her place, winning Evelyn's heart, stirring Khalil's attention, drawing sympathy from the staff. Danielle's phone buzzed. A message. "Come to the sitting room. We need to talk." Danielle didn't have to ask who. When she entered the sitting room, Vanessa Hope was already there, calm and elegant, sitting with her legs crossed like she had all the time in the world. Vanessa was Malcolm's sister, wealthy, respected in society, and always helpful at the right moments. But there was something about her eyes that never felt warm. Vanessa smiled. "Sit down, sweetheart." Danielle sat slowly. "You wanted to see me?" Vanessa poured tea as if they were discussing fashion instead of war. "I wanted to check on you," Vanessa said smoothly. "You've been stressed." Danielle's laugh came out strained. "Because the whole house is acting like that girl is family." Vanessa's expression didn't change, but her voice lowered. "That's exactly why I called you." Danielle leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Vanessa set the cup down gently. "A woman doesn't lose her place all at once," she said. "She loses it little by little. First, the mother's affection, then the man's attention, then the household's loyalty. Then one day, she wakes up and realizes she's become the outsider." Danielle swallowed. "Khalil loves me." Vanessa nodded as if she agreed, but her eyes didn't soften. "Love is beautiful," she said. "But jealousy makes love blind, and a blind man can be led anywhere." Danielle's hands clenched. "So what do I do?" Vanessa leaned closer, her voice like a whisper meant only for Danielle's ears. "You remove the problem, not with violence, not with chaos. Those leave evidence. You remove it with reputation." Danielle's breath caught. "Reputation?" Vanessa nodded. "A poor girl can survive hunger, but she can't survive shame. Not in this city, not under this name." Danielle stared at her, shaken. That's wrong." Vanessa's tone stayed sweet. "What's wrong is letting her take what you built." Danielle looked away, wrestling with herself. Vanessa continued, calm and patient. "You don't have to do anything directly," she said. "You just have to allow the truth people want to believe." Danielle's voice trembled. "And what truth is that?" Vanessa's lips curved faintly. "That she came here for something she didn't earn." A few hours later, at the estate, Trevor Banks strutted into the kitchen like the world belonged to him. Trevor was Khalil's best friend, handsome, charming, reckless, and always chasing entertainment. He leaned against the counter, grinning at Marie. "You working hard, Marie?" Marie kept stirring the pot, not meeting his eyes. "I'm busy," Trevor chuckled. "You always this serious?" Before Marie could respond, a shadow fell across the doorway. Khalil stood there, watching Trevor too closely. Trevor raised an eyebrow. "Man, you keep popping up like you guarding her." Khalil's voice was low. "Don't play with her." Trevor smirked. "Relax, I'm just talking." But as Trevor walked out, his phone buzzed with a new message. Unknown number. "We need your help. There's money in it." Trevor's smile faded, just for a second, because even a man like Trevor knew what it meant when rich people offered money in silence. That evening, just as the sun dropped behind the city skyline, the Hope estate began to glow with quiet elegance again, like nothing was wrong, like fear couldn't touch people who lived behind gates. But inside the house, Vanessa Hope moved like a woman setting a clock. She didn't rush, she didn't shout. Vanessa, Malcolm Hope's sister, always polished and helpful, believed the cleanest destruction was the kind that looked like the victim did it to themselves. And tonight, she intended to make Amara, Mary Johnson, look like a mistake the Hope family would regret ever touching. In the kitchen, Mary finished plating dinner and wiped her hands on her apron. Her body was tired, but her spirit felt strangely lighter than it had in days. Evelyn had promised school. Khalil had been quieter, less harsh, more thoughtful. For the first time, Mary let herself imagine what it might feel like to become someone the world couldn't ignore. That was exactly why Vanessa needed her to fall. A soft laugh rolled into the kitchen. Trevor Banks, Khalil's best friend, charming and reckless, the kind of man who never seemed bothered by consequences, strolled in with his usual confidence. He leaned on the counter like the kitchen was his stage. "Mary," Trevor said, smiling, "you still mad at me for being friendly?" Mary didn't look up. "I'm not mad, I'm working." Trevor chuckled. "Good, because I came with an offer." Mary paused. "An offer?" Trevor nodded toward the doorway. "A little get-together. Nothing serious. Just some music, food, people laughing for once. You've been through a lot. You could use a break." Mary hesitated. The streets taught her that breaks often came with traps. But this wasn't the street. This was a mansion. Wealthy people didn't need to set traps. Right? She glanced up and saw Khalil Hope standing at the edge of the hallway, watching. Khalil's expression was unreadable. Billionaire calm on the outside, something unsettled underneath. Trevor followed Mary's gaze and grinned. "See? Even your boss wants you to have a life." Khalil's voice came out flat. "Trevor." Trevor raised a hand. "What? I'm helping." Mary's chest tightened. Part of her wanted to say no, to retreat to the safety of her small room, but another part, tiny, hopeful, dangerous, wanted to believe she could exist among people without being hunted. "I'll come for a little while," Mary said carefully. "Then I'm leaving." Trevor's smile widened. "That's my girl." An hour later, the gathering was small, mostly staff and a couple of familiar faces from the Hope Circle. It wasn't loud, it wasn't wild, it looked harmless. Mary stayed near the edge of the room, hands folded, watching the way people laughed easily when their lives weren't heavy. She tried to breathe normally, tried to tell herself she was safe. Trevor handed her a drink in a clear cup. "Here," he said, "just something light." Mary stared at it. "I didn't ask for—" "Come on," Trevor said, voice smooth. "It's just a drink. Relax." Across the room, Danielle Carter appeared at the entrance, dressed perfectly as always, eyes scanning like she was searching for evidence. Danielle, Khalil's fiancée, beautiful and proud, didn't look like she came to enjoy anything. She looked like she came to protect her territory. Mary's stomach tightened. She didn't want Danielle to misunderstand anything. Mary lifted the cup and took a small sip. Within minutes, something felt wrong. The room didn't spin like a cartoon. It blurred, subtly, like the edges of everything softened and her body became heavier than it should be. Mary blinked hard, trying to focus. Trevor stepped closer, guiding her gently. "You good?" he asked, voice too casual. Mary swallowed. I don't feel right." Trevor's eyes flicked away for half a second. Guilt, maybe. Then he smiled again. "You're just nervous. Sit down." Mary tried to pull back, but her legs didn't respond the way she wanted. Her thoughts slowed. Fear rose sharp in her chest, and somewhere behind her, Vanessa's plan clicked into place. A door opened at the perfect time. Danielle stepped in fully and froze. Her eyes locked on Mary, unsteady and disoriented, with Trevor too close and the scene arranged to look like something shameful. Danielle's voice sliced the air. "Are you serious right now?" The room went silent. Marie tried to speak, but her tongue felt thick. I didn't. Danielle's face twisted with hurt and fury. So this is what you do? You come into my fiancée's house and… Marie! A voice thundered. Khalil pushed into the room, his eyes landing on Marie first. For a split second, his face flashed with alarm. Then Danielle turned to him, tears already forming. Khalil, look. Marie's knees weakened again, her vision blurred, and as she started to fall, she realized the most terrifying part wasn't the dizziness. It was the fact that everyone was already choosing what to believe, before she could even explain. The same night, the quiet elegance of the Hope estate turned into a courtroom without a judge. Marie's head swam as she tried to steady herself, her palms pressing against the edge of a table. The room felt too bright, too loud, even though everyone had gone silent. Faces blurred at the edges. She could still hear Danielle Carter's voice cutting through the air like a blade, and she could feel the weight of eyes on her, eyes already deciding. Khalil Hope stepped forward, tall and tense, his gaze flicking between Marie and Danielle. For a second, his face softened with concern when he saw Marie's unsteady posture. But Danielle moved quickly, because jealousy moved faster than truth. She's been in our home for days, Danielle said, her voice shaking with anger and humiliation. And now this, in front of everybody? Marie blinked hard, trying to force her words into place. I don't feel right, she whispered. I think something is wrong with that drink. Trevor's jaw tightened. Trevor Banks, Khalil's best friend, the charming man who always acted like life was a game, took a step back, like distance could erase his part in what was happening. Danielle scoffed. Oh, now you're sick. Convenient. Khalil's voice dropped. Danielle, calm down. But Danielle wasn't listening anymore. She turned toward the guests and staff who stood frozen in place. Look at her. She knew exactly what she was doing. Coming in here, getting attention, playing innocent. Marie's stomach turned. She held onto the table harder. I wasn't playing anything, she said, voice weak but honest. I just wanted to work. I just wanted… The doors opened. The air changed instantly. Malcolm Hope entered like a storm in a suit, his presence heavy, his face hard. Behind him, Vanessa Hope followed, calm and composed, wearing concern like jewelry. Malcolm's eyes scanned the scene, then fixed on Marie. What is going on? Danielle stepped forward, as if she'd been waiting for an audience. Your house is being disrespected, she said, right in front of people. Marie opened her mouth, but her tongue felt slow. She hated that her body wouldn't cooperate, hated that she looked exactly the way a liar was expected to look. Vanessa's voice slipped in gently. Malcolm, this is serious, she murmured, pretending to be stunned. If this gets out, it won't just harm the family, it will harm the company. Malcolm's jaw tightened. The word company always got through him. Khalil stepped closer to Marie. She looks unwell, he said, more firmly now. She can barely stand. Danielle's eyes flashed. So you're defending her? I'm asking questions, Khalil replied. Marie swallowed, forcing her voice stronger. Mr. Hope, I didn't come here to do anything bad. Trevor gave me a drink and after that She paused, eyes unfocused. I couldn't think straight. Trevor lifted his hands. Yo, don't put this on me, he said quickly, too quickly. I was just trying to help her relax. Khalil stared at him. Relax? Trevor's voice wavered. Man, it's not like… Malcolm slammed his palm against the table. The sound snapped through the room. Enough! Everyone froze. Malcolm looked at Marie with disgust, mixed with disappointment, like he didn't even recognize the difference between proof and embarrassment. You came into this home with nothing, he said. We fed you, sheltered you, and this is how you repay us? Marie's eyes burned. I didn't do anything. she pleaded. Please, please believe me. Danielle turned toward Malcolm, tears shining like weapons. She's lying. She's been trying to get close to Khalil since the day she arrived. Mari shook her head, desperation cracking her voice. That's not true. Vanessa stepped closer to Malcolm, quiet and poisonous. The world won't care what's true, she whispered. They'll care what they see. And then it happened. The final push. A phone in the corner buzzed. Someone looked down at it. Their eyes widened. A message had already been sent. A short clip. A twisted angle. A moment taken out of context. Crafted to look like Mari was exactly what they wanted her to be. Mari saw the shift on their faces before anyone even spoke. Malcolm's expression hardened into something final. You will not destroy my family's name, he said, voice low and deadly. Khalil's eyes flicked to the screen, then back to Mari, confusion fighting doubt. Mari's knees buckled again. I was set up, she whispered, but the room was already turning against her. And for the first time since she entered the Hope estate, Mari felt it, like a door somewhere was beginning to close. That same night, the Hope estate felt like it had lost its breath. The clip on the phone, short, blurry, and cruelly timed, kept replaying in people's minds like it was a final verdict. Mari could feel the shift in the room, the way shoulders stiffened and eyes hardened. It didn't matter that she could barely stand. It didn't matter that her voice sounded like truth. All that mattered was the story people wanted to believe. And Mari had learned a long time ago, people didn't need proof to hate you, just permission. Malcolm Hope stared at her as if she'd tracked mud across his legacy. His voice came low, controlled, and dangerous. Get her out of my house. Mari's heart jolted. Please, she said, forcing the word through the heaviness in her mouth. I didn't do this. I swear I... Enough! Malcolm snapped, cutting her off like her words were a nuisance. I will not have my wife lying in a hospital bed while shame walks freely through my home. Across the room, Danielle Carter clung to Khalil Hope's arm, her eyes glossy with tears that looked real, because her pain was real to her. But beneath the hurt was something else too. Relief, victory. You see, Danielle said, voice trembling. This is what I tried to warn you about. Mari turned toward Khalil, searching his face. Khalil's expression was tight, conflicted, like he wanted to speak, but didn't know which side his voice belonged to. His eyes stayed on Mari longer than anyone else's did, and for a moment, Mari saw it. Doubt fighting through the pride. Mari looks sick, Khalil said quietly. Danielle's head snapped toward him. So now you're defending her again? I'm not defending, Khalil started, then stopped, jaw flexing. His silence fell heavy, and Mari felt that silence like a slap. Vanessa Hope stepped closer to Malcolm, her tone calm and reasonable. Malcolm, you're doing the right thing, she murmured. This family can't survive a scandal. Not now. Not with Evelyn in the hospital. The world will tear you apart. Mari wanted to scream that she wasn't the scandal. She was the person being crushed by it. But her body betrayed her again. Her legs weak, her mind foggy, her throat tight. Two staff members approached hesitantly, avoiding Mari's eyes, as if looking at her too long might contaminate them. Miss, Mari, one of them said softly, we need to collect your things. Mari's breath hitched. My things, she repeated, like she hadn't heard correctly. They moved fast, too fast. A bag appeared. Her few clothes were folded with cold efficiency. The blanket Evelyn had brought her was placed on top, like a cruel reminder that kindness had an expiration date. Mari swayed, gripping the edge of the table. Mrs. Hope. Evelyn, she whispered. She knows me. She knows I wouldn't. Malcolm's voice thundered again. Don't say her name. Mari flinched, Danielle stepped forward, eyes sharp. "You were given a chance," she said, voice low. "And you ruined it." Mari's eyes burned. "I didn't ruin anything," she said, voice breaking. "I tried to live." The staff guided her toward the hallway. Mari stumbled once, catching herself on the wall. No one moved to help, not even Trevor, who stood near the corner with his head slightly turned away, guilt hiding behind his silence. They walked her through the grand entrance like she was being escorted out of a life she never truly got to enter. Outside, the night air hit her like a punishment. The gates stood tall, the driveway stretched long, and the world beyond the estate waited, cold, unforgiving, familiar. Mari clutched her bag, trembling. "Please," she said one last time, turning back toward Khalil. Just ask yourself if I'm the kind of person who would do that." Khalil stepped forward half a pace, his eyes dark with something he couldn't name. But Malcolm's voice ended it. "Close the gate." The metal slid shut with a heavy finality. Mari stood outside it, alone again, while inside Khalil remained frozen in place, staring at the gate like he could still see her through it. And for the first time, the doubt in his chest grew teeth. A few hours after the gate closed behind her, the city swallowed Mari whole again. The mansion lights disappeared in the distance, replaced by street lamps that flickered like they were tired of shining. Amara Mari Johnson walked with her bag pressed to her chest, not because it was heavy, but because it was all she had left. Her steps were slow. Not for drama. Her body was still fighting the strange weakness from earlier, and her mind felt bruised from the way people had looked at her like she was filthy. Mari didn't cry at first. She'd trained herself not to. Crying on the streets was dangerous. It made you slower. It made you visible. It invited the wrong kind of attention. So she kept her face firm and her eyes forward, while her heart cracked quietly inside. By the time she reached the bridge, the night had deepened. The familiar space waited for her like a punishment she never finished serving. Cardboard scraps lay where she'd left them before. A corner of her old blanket still clung to the concrete. Mari dropped her bag and sat, breathing hard. For a moment she just stared at the road above her. Cars passed, unaware. Music thumped from somewhere far away. Life kept moving like her pain didn't matter. And then the memory hit, sharp and sudden, not the mansion. The other door. The first door that closed on her. Standing on a porch with a trash bag in her hand. The adoptive mother's voice, cold and final, saying, "We have our own kids now. You're grown. Figure it out." Mari pressed her hand to her mouth, swallowing a sound that wanted to escape. "It's happening again," she whispered to herself. "It keeps happening again." A gust of wind cut through the underpass, and Mari's body shivered. She pulled her hoodie tighter, but the cold wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the fear. This bridge didn't feel as safe as it used to. The city had changed. The nights had gotten rougher. Mari could hear footsteps in the distance. Too close, too slow, too interested. She didn't see anyone clearly, but her instincts screamed at her the same way they screamed when Dre shoved the phone into her hands. "Move!" Mari forced herself up, legs shaking. She grabbed her bag and stepped away from the spot she used to call home. Her pride tried to argue, "Where else do you go?" But her survival answered faster. Somewhere with a door. There was only one person in this city who had ever offered Mari kindness without demanding anything back. Miss Loretta Green, an older woman who lived a few blocks from the bridge, always bringing a plate of food, always telling Mari, "God sees you, baby." Mari didn't want to burden her. She didn't want to show up broken, but tonight she didn't have the strength to be proud. She walked, stumbling twice, breath turning shallow. Every few steps her vision blurred. Her hands trembled around the bag strap. "Please," she murmured, not sure if she was talking to God or to her own legs. Just let me make it there. A porch light flickered on in the distance. Mari swallowed hard and pushed forward toward it, toward the only place that felt like it might still hold mercy. She reached the front gate, an old, slightly crooked one, and pushed it open with trembling hands. The yard was small, quiet, and simple, nothing like the Hope estate. But to Amara, Mari Johnson, it looked like safety. She climbed the porch steps slowly. Her knees shook. Her throat felt tight, not from cold now, but from the fear of being turned away again. Mari lifted her fist and knocked, soft, weak, like she didn't want to bother anyone. No answer. Mari leaned her forehead against the door, breathing through the ache in her chest. "Please," she whispered, voice cracking. "I just need one night." Her legs gave a little, and she caught herself on the doorframe. Tears finally slipped free, warm against her cheeks. She didn't wipe them this time. She couldn't. Mari knocked again, harder. Then her body sagged forward. The lock clicked, the door opened, and there she was. Miss Loretta Green, early 60s, thick-framed glasses, grey curls tucked under a headscarf, wearing a long house dress like she'd been pulled out of sleep. Loretta was the woman who used to bring Mari food under the bridge, always fussing at her like Mari was family, and not a stranger. Loretta's eyes widened the second she saw Mari. "Jesus," Loretta breathed, stepping forward fast. "Baby, what happened to you?" Mari tried to speak, but her voice came out thin. "Miss Loretta, Her knees buckled. Loretta caught her immediately, stronger than she looked, wrapping an arm around Mari's back and pulling her close like she'd done it 1,000 times. "Not tonight," Loretta said firmly, guiding her inside. "You not falling out on my porch. Come on, come on." Mari's head lolled slightly as Loretta helped her over the threshold. The warmth of the house hit Mari's skin like a blanket. The smell of home, soap, cooking oil, and something sweet made her stomach twist with both hunger and relief. Mari clutched Loretta's sleeve. They set me up," she whispered, the words breaking into pieces. I didn't do it." Loretta's jaw tightened. "I knew it," she said, voice full of protective anger. "I knew you wasn't that kind of girl." Mari's eyes fluttered. I tried so hard." Loretta pulled her deeper into the house, shutting the door with a sharp, final sound. "You safe now?" Loretta whispered, locking it. "Whatever's chasing you, it can't come through this door." Mari's body finally surrendered, leaning fully into Loretta's arms, and the door stayed shut. As Season 1 ends, one truth stands out: never judge someone by their situation. Amara didn't walk into the Hope family to destroy anything. She walked in trying to survive. Yet the same world that ignored her under the bridge was quick to believe the worst about her in a mansion. Let this remind you, appearances can be staged, but character can't be faked forever. Jealousy and fear can push good people into painful choices, and silence can hurt just as much as betrayal. Still, even in the darkest moment, God can place one safe door in your path, like Loretta's, showing that mercy is real. Now I want to hear from you. Who is your favorite character so far? Is it Amara for her strength, Khalil for his inner struggle, Evelyn for her kindness, or someone else? Comment your favorite character and tell us why you love them. This is Mr. Hope, and I'll see you in the next video.